So, speaking of, because you mentioned Jim Cornette, someone that he really, really does not like, and Vince Russo said something
I
really,
love
really
this feud.
dumb, really, really dumb about Seth Rollins. He says that there is nothing special about Seth Rollins. Simple question: does this say more about Vince Russo or Seth Rollins?
Vince Russo, he's always been a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. I understand more and more every single day why during that Dark Side of the Ring that Jim Cornette said that he wants to outlive him so he could piss on his grave, and that if he cannot make it, he will have his wife wheelchair him to the grave and piss on it. I understand it because his takes are god awful. I mean, I appreciate the funny stuff he did back then, but he wasn't like someone that really understood pro wrestling and what makes a good wrestler. If you want like like if there was like a manual, right, to hand out to a bunch of new wrestlers on like all the right things to do to be a successful pro wrestler and how to help out the business and help others, you have it all in Seth Rollins. He has the look. He puts on the one of the arguably the best matches in the modern day era of WWE. He's constantly reinventing himself. And I noticed that while he is inventing himself, he always likes to bring everyone else along his new invention so that he elevates everybody else. Like he's to a point where he doesn't need the title to be relevant. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
complain when he loses his matches. I don't mind when he loses because at the end of the day, like it's still a win for Seth Rollins. It's a win for the person that he was going up against, and it's like the win for the company. You know you're really good when you're relevant without a belt. Like Seth Rollins is it. He is it. I love
Mm-hmm.
him. I love his work. I think that you're an idiot if you don't see any value in Seth Rollins. He, in my personal opinion, is the best person out of the Shield. I think everyone would agree with that part. And just, I feel like if you don't like Seth Rollins, you're either being a hater or you're just out of touch. Because he's it. He is that guy. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
has a Hall of Fame worthy career right now if he wants to retire. He is that much that guy. He carried this company on his back, like, throughout, what was it, 2019? I think it was 2019. He carried this whole fucking more than once he carried this company on his back. Like, he's
Mm-hmm.
great. He's awesome. Like, a lot of people gravitate towards Seth before Roman
Mm-hmm.
before. Like when that's a crazy thing when there's a 3-man faction and they force you and guide you to like the person in charge, but everyone naturally just goes to not the side
Another
act, but
person.
the yeah, the characters that are not supposed to be held in that regard. Seth just does it naturally. So the fact that he doesn't see it, I'm not going to take it to heart because it's Vince Russo, and I don't hold him to be an intelligent person in terms of, you know, people in wrestling. I understand that he played a role backstage, but honestly, nothing that he says really means jack diddly shit to me just because I don't know, he's just not, he's just old, he's out of touch, he just says shit just to get attention sometimes. I think he's an attention whore. Um, yeah, sorry. That's it. That's all I gotta say about him.
So
Go
here's
Saf, Team Saf.
here's
Now
what
I'm
I'll
dropping
say.
my headphones.
I'm gonna communicate a principle, and then I'm gonna talk about my viewpoint. I feel like one of the biggest problems in the world and in media, and when it comes to this podcasting stuff, is that some people have the mic on for too long. They did something important at some time, and then they think that because they did one thing good at one time, that they now have credibility forever to talk about anything and anyone, regardless of how uneducated their opinions can be. Vince Russo is that guy. Vince Russo um, was a very, very pivotal part of the Attitude Era for WWE. A lot of the stuff that we witnessed with The Rock, Stone Cold, the realistic stuff that we saw with the WWE Attitude Era that allowed WWE to beat WCW in the ratings war was tied to Vince Russo. He was then hired to go to WCW. Obviously, that worked out the way that it did. So I don't want to make it seem like Vince has never had a good idea or that he wasn't credible at one point. But some people can be so consumed with their past success that they're stuck there. And because they're stuck there, their perceptions and their ideas are stuck there. And I think that that's the reason why he has the perspective of Seth Rollins the way that he does. It's 2022. You look around the world in sports and in entertainment, it's not all about being 6'7", 300 pounds of pure muscle, right? Like, look in the NBA, for example. A lot of these guys, 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'7", but they're lean. They're cut, but they're not like brawling. You know what I mean? You look around football, a lot of these guys aren't as big as they used to be, but they have the speed, they have the athleticism. And I'm saying this because I feel like in wrestling, there's this perception that you have to look a certain way in order to be a true pro wrestler. But in reality, that's not the way the world works. And I don't think that that's the way that pro wrestling works anymore. You can be any size and get over with the crowd. And when it comes to Seth Rollins, number one, he's in phenomenal shape. Number two, like you said, he is easily, and I've said it before, Seth Rollins is the best pro wrestler on the planet. This guy is creating the best stories with the best characters on the biggest stage in pro wrestling. And he's doing it at a level of consistency that we haven't seen from any other performer since probably Kenny Omega when he was in New Japan. And to be completely honest, there were, Vince was saying, "Oh, I don't think that he's a first ballot Hall." He's for sure a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's probably going to go down as a guy that has multiple Hall of Fame careers between the Shield, his solo career, and I feel like he's going to get another induction based on another faction he's going to do. That's a different story for a different day. But I just think that Seth Rollins is not only a first ballot Hall of Famer, he's going to be a multiple time Hall of Famer. The same way that we're going to talk about Hunter, the same way that we talk about Sean, guys in the NWO, Four Horsemen. He is a multi time Hall of Famer in the making who has had so many layers to his career that you can take one era and it's Hall of Fame worthy. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that Vince Russo uh is right about this, to say the very least. I don't think that he's correct about Seth Rollins. I think that he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think that he's extremely charismatic, great on the mic, great in the ring. Like, you can't really ask for a better pro wrestler than Seth Rollins at this point. But I could be bugging out. But let us know how you feel about Seth
You
freaking
know.
Rollins. But we're moving on. So last Friday,